Good evening, everyone. My name is Ethan Agabon. I'd just like to propose a question to the class real quick. Are you willing to make sacrifices today for others to enjoy tomorrow? Are you willing to be selfless? I apologize. Well, hopefully, by the end of this presentation, you'll be more inclined to say yes to this question and be willing to support an organization that's already doing work for a better tomorrow. Now, over the next 6 minutes, I'll be covering a couple of key issues that our community faces, the effects of those issues on our community, and then I'll be talking about the organization that's willing to provide some solutions. So our first issue is land loss, particularly to human development. So for a little bit of context, according to an article by the Colorado Sun, they state that Colorado's population growth was nearly twice the rate of the rest of the United States, with the state growing nearly 15% between 2010 and 2020, compared to the nation's 7.4% average. That's a lot of growth. More people, and more people means more neighborhoods, more stores, more malls, more gas stations, etc. More people also means more money, and that draws the attention of big businesses as well. This all culminates to just an overall increase in development and urbanization in our state. But just how much land has already been affected by development? Well, according to a 2024 article by the Western Resource Advocates, they say that 1/3 of Colorado's lands have already been altered by human development, placing Colorado at the highest percent of natural areas already lost to development among Western states. They also say that 2.3 million acres of public land have already been leased to oil and gas companies. That's millions of acres that we've already lost that used to be open recreational area, wildlife habitats, and just scenic views for all of us. But this increase in development also raises a second issue, and that is the endangerment of our water supplies. As I mentioned previously, 2.3 million acres of land have already been taken by oil and gas companies, and they typically use a technique known as fracking, which, to sum it up, involves a technique where they mix water with highly toxic chemicals and pump it underground to extract oil. Now, while most of that water and oil is extracted during the process, a good amount of that contaminated water still stays underground and runs the risk of potentially seeping through and leaking into our water supplies and waterways. But just how toxic is the water left behind? Well, according to research by the U.S. National Science Foundation, they say that the chemical composition of fracking wastewater samples found toxic and carcinogenic contaminants in untreated wastewater, meaning they cause cancer. So I don't know about any of you, but personally, I wouldn't want to have my water anywhere close to these chemicals, whether it be if I need to wash my hands, take a bath, or forbid consume any of that if I'm thirsty. That being said, would it surprise you to know that just last month, 24 new wells were approved right next to Aurora Reservoir, actually just 0.6 miles away from Aurora Reservoir. Only half a mile. Some people run that in like 4 or 5 minutes. And it's right next to a major water supply for our entire city. Do we want to accept the risk of having contaminants leak into that entire water supply? Because all it takes is one time, and it would be completely out of use for us. Or if we're told late, we wouldn't even know it's contaminated at all. And so what are the effects? How does this affect all of us? As I mentioned previously, it's a reduction in recreational land. And according to a peer survey, 100% said yes when asked whether or not they enjoyed going on hikes, a very popular recreational activity here in Colorado. We could lose potentially a lot of hiking terrain. Another effect would be contamination to our water supply. Naturally, I feel like everyone understands the effect of that. And then harm to our wildlife populations. If they're losing both the land and water. So whatever we feel, they feel it times 10 or more. And according to the same survey of my peers, they all rated wildlife conservation as either an 8 or higher on a scale from 1 to 10. So I know there's many of you in this room who care about our local wildlife. let's quickly speak about an organization that's looking to help ease some of these issues. They're known as Colorado Open Lands, and they work to protect our local land and waterways through something known as voluntary easements, voluntary conservation easements. Essentially, it's a legal binding contract that they work with private landowners, and it protects the land, assuming they come to an agreement, and waterways that are on the land from any more development. Even if landowners switch in the future, that land is still protected in perpetuity, so forever. Even if a big company was to come buy the land, they couldn't change it from anything more than agricultural land, open space, or just recreational area. So the land would be protected forever. And some of their statistics include having already protected over 730,000 acres of land, 3,400 miles of waterway in over 50 counties around Colorado, through their 813 projects, according to their official website, coloradoopenlands.org. And I hope you're all willing to make a sacrifice today for tomorrow. My name is Ethan, and have a good night. Thank you.